supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network. Comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the Holness Administration has activated all emergency agencies as Tropical Storm Melissa moves closer to the island.
Jamaicans are divided on whether they should prepare for the storm.
I am not preparing for this storm because I know this storm is not coming. We are going to get rain, but no storm.
Everything sealed and secure. Secure the windows, the doors, button down, buy up the food, them already.
Mark Golding insists he's a no on Jamaica becoming a republic unless it comes with the CCJ.
Not while I'm leader, that will not happen. I believe that the first order of business is to secure access to justice for the people of Jamaica.
Close friend of PNP General Secretary, new Director of Corruption Prosecution at the Integrity Commission.
More delays in the Ruel Reid fraud trial.
In news from the rest of the world, the UN allocates $4 million to Haiti to prepare for Tropical Storm Melissa.
US announces new sanctions targeting Russia's two largest oil companies.
And in headline sports, West Indies and Bangladesh clash in big winner-take-all ODI showdown in Dhaka.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Tropical Storm Melissa has slowed down considerably, moving at only 2 miles per hour. JPS's Director of Corporate Communications, Winsome Callum, and NWC's Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager, Delano Williams, will join us to discuss their preparation for the storm.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, do you think parliamentary walkouts are effective? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, work is set to be done in a section of the Sandy Gully in an effort to ensure free flow of water in light of the expected effects of Tropical Storm Melissa. Works Minister Robert Morgan will join us.
At 7, the Transport Authority is seeking to intensify their road activities with the launch of Operation Ride Safe, specifically targeting public passenger vehicle operators. The authority's Managing Director, Ralston Smith, will join us.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app, available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, October 22, 2025.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now the news in detail. A tropical storm watch remains in effect for Jamaica as Tropical Storm Melissa continues to move slowly across the central Caribbean. The storm is moving at about 2 miles per hour. As at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the Meteorological Service of Jamaica reported the center of the storm was located at about 320 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. That's 315 miles southeast of Kingston. The Met Service says some gradual strengthening is anticipated over the next few days. As such, Melissa is expected to become a hurricane by tomorrow. On the current forecast track, the system is expected to approach Jamaica before turning towards the west on Saturday and passing over the waters south of Jamaica through the start of the next week.
Meanwhile, as Tropical Storm Melissa moves closer to the island, Jamaicans appear divided on how seriously they were preparing for the storm. While some residents are stocking up on essentials and securing their homes, others say they're taking a wait-and-see approach. Shalois Michael canvassed the views of Jamaicans on how they're preparing for the storm.
Disaster preparedness officials have urged citizens to make the necessary preparations in light of the approaching storm. Tropical Storm Melissa is expected to bring periods of heavy rains and gusty winds later this week. Some residents say they're already making the necessary preparations.
I have already sent to the hardware to get some plyboards and some boards to do some buttoning down of the windows and some of the doors. Where foodstuff is concerned, I am all right because I operate a grocery shop.
Everything sealed and secure the windows, the doors, button down, so to speak, buy up the food them already. Yeah man, tin mackerel stock up, animals them secure, and everything nice man, take it well serious.
My preparation for this storm entails paying attention to the news bulletin, watching what is happening with this storm. I am taking all the necessary precaution measures in and around my house.
So I'll be buying tin food and just look around the household, like around the yard space for trees that are hanging over onto the roof and stuff like that, to just cut those down.
But not everyone is rushing to prepare just yet. Despite concerns, some believe the storm will pass with no major impact.
Since we've been on tropical storm watch, one time I say Evan Thompson come out. So I not really take it too serious. However, just in case it comes, I have stuff can last me for at least 3 days.
I am not preparing for this storm because I know this storm is not coming. We are going to get rain, but no storm.
So I haven't prepared anything, I'm just here observing, watching the weather updates. Well, I have food in the house. My only concern is the flooding because we're in Westmoreland. So if we get a lot of rain, we're in the low-lying area, so we will flood. So that's my only concern.
I just believe by the mercies of Almighty God that no storm will not come to Jamaica.
The reactions were similar across social media. On Instagram, one user believes Jamaica will not be getting any storm, only some heavy rain. On X, another user says she's always prepared. And on Facebook, one man says he's on the alert, but not overdoing the preparations. Now Jamaicans watch and wait. Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
All courts across the island are closed until further notice in preparation for the potential impact of Tropical Storm Melissa. A statement from the Court Administration Division, CAD, says courts closed at 3 p.m. today. Director of Client Services, Communications and Information for the division, Kadish Jarrett Fletcher, says the closure is a precautionary measure to ensure the safety of court staff and the protection of facilities. She says all matters scheduled for Thursday, October 23, will be adjourned and new dates will be assigned.
All courts will be closed today at 3 p.m. to allow staff to make personal preparations and also to prepare the courts for the storm. The matters listed for Thursday, October 23, will be adjourned and future dates assigned to them and the parties informed of same. Future dates for cases listed for Friday, October 24, will be identified and communicated to all our stakeholders.
Kadish Jarrett Fletcher, Director of Client Services, Communications and Information.
The Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, is activating its Emergency Operations Center as the island prepares for the impact of Tropical Storm Melissa. The company says saturated soil from recent rains, coupled with expected heavy rainfall, could lead to flooding and landslides that may damage the power network and cause outages. The JPS has also mobilized regional support, with the first group of line workers from St. Vincent set to arrive today to assist with any necessary restoration efforts. Customers are being urged to secure service wires, ensure backup generators are in place, and solar battery systems are operational. Customers are also being warned to prevent backfeeding from solar systems or generators into the JPS grid. They are also advised to unplug sensitive appliances, secure roof fixtures and solar panels, and have flashlights and battery-powered devices ready in case of extended outages. The JPS says it will work to restore power safely and as quickly as possible in the event of any disruptions. But the light and power company is warning that access challenges may delay restoration in some areas. The company is reminding the public to prioritize safety during the passage of the storm.
Water Minister Matthew Samuda says the ministry has begun implementing reserve energy supplies for Jamaica's most important water pumps. The steps are being taken amid preparation for Tropical Storm Melissa.
One of the issues that came up as a major shortfall in our response post-Hurricane Beryl was how quickly we were able to get water systems up, especially ones that serve hospitals, infirmaries, and places of detention. That prompted a particular analysis that the Prime Minister had instructed to be done. So we've already identified all the water pumps that indeed service critical infrastructure, because electricity is indeed a critical element of our ability to distribute water. These pumps have been identified. We've already installed 3 major generators that service particular hospitals.
Water pumps are often impacted by prolonged power outages. The minister says the government has also identified private sector entities that have the generators necessary to power certain water systems.
And we're going through the PIAB process with the Ministry of Finance to procure the rest. We expect to invest just over $1 billion in generators early next year. But during the Beryl response, we also identified private sector suppliers who have triple phase generators, as opposed to the single phase that you'd use on homes. So we're able to, between working with JPS and our private suppliers, deal with most critical infrastructure.
Matthew Samuda, Water Minister. He was speaking at a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday.
Meanwhile, Minister Samuda is encouraging Jamaicans to keep reserve water supplies despite the government's improvement to the trucking system.
We've also beefed up and increased our trucking capacity. So post-Beryl, we have 12 more additional trucks that is able to go into areas that have particular impact. But we do need to caution that when a storm is coming, and certainly as you get the notifications this evening and tomorrow morning, where you can store potable water at your homes, we will encourage that, because there will be some disruption if a storm does indeed make landfall.
Matthew Samuda, Water Minister.
Opposition leader Mark Golding has declared that he will not back down from his position that Jamaica must become a republic at the same time it accepts the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, as its final appellate court. Mr. Golding reaffirmed his position on Tuesday during a media briefing held at Gordon House. But the opposition leader suggests exploring other areas of constitutional reform outside of statehood. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
Not while I am opposition leader. Mark Golding says he will not divorce the issue of the Caribbean Court of Justice from the country's Republican push.
Any chance that the opposition will divorce the two?
No, not while I'm leader of the opposition. That will not happen. I believe that the first order of business is to secure access to justice for the people of Jamaica, who have been deprived of it for nearly 200 years. You know, since the court, their final court, was across the Atlantic Ocean in a foreign capital that has nothing to do with us. And we believe that it's vital that we ensure that the government allows full decolonization now.
The opposition PNP withdrew from the Constitutional Reform Committee earlier this year after party leader Mark Golding criticized Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness for not stating his position on the country's final appellate court. But with the Prime Minister now stating his preference for a local final court, Mr. Golding says his party remains unmoved in its demands. He's suggesting the political leaders move to other areas of potential consensus outside the current impasse.
The last thing I heard from the Prime Minister, which took me somewhat by surprise, was in the debate when he said that they were in favor of establishing a final court domestically here in Jamaica, which, for reasons that I probably won't go into now, we don't think is a viable approach at this time. And so, you know, I'm saying to the Prime Minister, listen, you know what our position is. It's a position that we have articulated forcefully for some time. And, you know, let us see what other areas of reform are possible so we can at least achieve a more accountable government, for example, a more effective parliament, and that sort of thing. You know, and let's get some forward momentum going on things that matter to the wider public if we can't agree on the decolonization issues up front.
Prime Minister Holness has invited Mr. Golding to have one-on-one dialogue on constitutional reform. But Mr. Golding says as things stand, there seems to be little room for progress on the key issues of the Republic and the final court. He's left the door open for other discussions to take place when he sits with the Prime Minister.
But yes, we would like to have initiating discussions. I would like to have an initiating discussion with the Prime Minister on the approach to constitutional reform, form of consultation that will take place, and how we will avoid some of the pitfalls and errors that were made the last time around. and to see what areas of consensus can be agreed so that we can at least make some progress, even if we can't make progress on every issue. And I would be more than willing, and in fact, in light of what is happening now, we will have to raise issues to do with how the Parliament's been at those talks if and when they take place.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Golding has also rejected the suggestion that the matter of the final court may go to an indicative referendum. He's holding firm to the belief that the Parliament is the appropriate mechanism for changing Jamaica's final appellate court. This is despite Minister Chuck suggesting that if the opposition remains unwilling to compromise, the government may have to put the matter to the Jamaican people in a non-binding referendum.
We believe that the Constitution should be applied, and the Privy Council, which is our final court presently, has already indicated what is a procedure for establishing a new final court, and that procedure does not involve a referendum, and so we don't feel it's proper to put that matter to the people in a referendum. And there's no country, former country of the British Empire, that has departed from the Privy Council as their final court via a referendum procedure for good reason. And we know that the politicization of that process would be inevitable, and it's not considered to be appropriate to subject your final court to that kind of highly partisan discussion and debate that would necessarily arise in a referendum procedure.
Mark Golding, opposition leader. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is
5:16.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 in Montego Bay.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Continuing the news, the Integrity Commission has 3 new directors. Craig Beresford is the new executive director. Ronif Lawrence replaces Keisha Prince Kamika as Director of Corruption Prosecution, while Joeth Jones is the new Director of Information and Complaints. She replaces Craig Beresford in that role. She previously served as the Commission's Manager of Declarations. But as we hear in this report from Dana Davey, at least one of the appointments could prove controversial.
The appointments were made by the Governor General at King's House on Wednesday. They follow sustained questions from civil society and subsequent news of a standoff between the Office of the Governor General and the Integrity Commission about the proper procedure to be used. It's understood the recommendations had been made from as far back as July. The Integrity Commission Act mandates that the Governor General shall appoint the Commission's directors on the advice of the 5 commissioners. But the Governor General objected, insisting that the Integrity Commission had not followed the prior administrative precedent. With the Integrity Commission backing down, Sir Patrick has made the appointments. The most controversial among the 3 new hires is likely to be Ronif Lawrence. He becomes the Commission's top prosecutor. Lawrence's prior acting appointment drew the ire of senior government lawmakers over his reported close relationship with PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell. Dr. Campbell is reportedly a longtime friend of Mr. Lawrence. He's alleged to have served as best man at Lawrence's wedding. So incensed were the government legislators that they wrote to the chairman of the Integrity Commission, Carol Lawrence Beswick, regarding the matter. While the lawmakers claimed at the time they were not questioning Lawrence's professional qualifications, they did point out that the close relationship between the two men raised questions of fairness and justice. At the time, retired Justice Beswick dismissed the complaint from the senior lawmakers. She insisted that evidence of improper conduct was required for her to act. Under the Integrity Commission Act, the Director of Corruption Prosecution is responsible for making decisions as to whether to initiate criminal prosecutions based on referrals from the Commission's Director of Investigations. His decisions can only be reviewed by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The United Nations has allocated $4 million to Haiti to prepare for Tropical Storm Melissa. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says the funds are for relief in the event of flooding, landslides, and power outages. It says humanitarian partners are also working with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Authority to step up preparedness efforts across other countries. The UN says the funds will support more than 100,000 vulnerable people in Haiti before the storm hits. The funds will also allow humanitarian partners to provide early warning messages, evacuation assistance, cash transfers, emergency shelter management, and water, sanitation, and hygiene kits.
The U.S. has announced new sanctions targeting Russia's two largest oil companies in an effort to pressure Moscow into negotiating a peace deal with Ukraine. The announcement came one day after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a planned meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin would be shelved indefinitely. Earlier Wednesday, Russia unleashed an intense bombardment on Ukraine that killed at least 7 people, including children. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the sanctions, saying they were needed due to what he says is Putin's refusal to end this senseless war. Speaking alongside Mark Rutte in the Oval Office on Wednesday, President Trump was asked about the timing of the new sanctions. He said they would help convince Russia to stop fighting, calling the sanctions package tremendous.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Holness administration has activated all emergency agencies as Tropical Storm Melissa moves closer to the island.
Jamaicans are divided on whether they should prepare for the storm.
I am not preparing for the storm because I know the storm is not coming. We are going to get rain, but no storm.
Everything sealed and secure. Secure the windows, the doors, button down, buy up the food them already.
Mark Golding insists he's a no on Jamaica becoming a republic unless it comes with the CCJ.
Not while I'm leader of the opposition. That will not happen. I believe that the first order of business is to secure access to justice for the people of Jamaica.
Close friend of PNP General Secretary, new Director of Corruption Prosecution at the Integrity Commission.
I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Every community, the citizen security plan, yeah, it need all our we. Yo, make your vote. Everybody want a safer country right now. Why pray? Every community, the citizen security plan, yeah, it need all our we. Yo, make your vote. Every Jamaican proud to turn it up. No. Stand up. That one I name CSP. One up, Marcus say education and the key. Start up, crime prevention better than cure. Lock the gun there, open more door. The youth them on the future, check them heads as well. Professional help, protect the mental health. Squaddy, everybody a link and give a strength. Everybody all a government unity strength. Every community, the citizen security plan, yeah, it need all our way. Yo, make your vote. Everybody want to see if our country right now.
The Citizen Security Plan is an initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union. It's an all-of-government effort to create safer streets and build stronger communities. Go to mns.gov.jm to learn how you can play your part.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaican international Warner Brown has scored for Mount Pleasant Academy. They're currently leading a defense force of Trinidad and Tobago by 1-0 early in the first half of their CONCACAF Caribbean Club first leg semi-final being played in Port of Spain. Warner Brown has been out of action for a good while now because he was injured. It also forced him to miss Jamaica's World Cup qualifying encounters against Curacao and Bermuda. The Mount Pleasant team will return to Jamaica for the second leg next week. Cavalier, another Jamaican club, are the defending champion in this particular competition. And Jamaican international Bobby Reid is the latest reggae boy to be sidelined by injury, and he's now a doubt for the country's crucial World Cup qualifiers in the November window. It was revealed that Reid suffered a hamstring injury during Leicester City's EFL clash with Portsmouth after coming on as a 62nd minute substitute at the weekend. There's no timeline set for Reid's return to action. He now joins Casey Palmer on the injured list. Palmer is ruled out of the two crucial games against Trinidad and Tobago and Curacao. He's been ruled out for 8 to 10 weeks. And Jamaica are current leaders of the group. They've got 9 points. They're one ahead of Curacao. The Trinidad and Tobago team come next with 5, and Bermuda yet to get off the mark. The Reggae Boys will qualify automatically to a second World Cup following their first sojourn in 1998. They'll qualify if they beat Curacao at the National Stadium in Kingston on November 18, irrespective of what happens in any other qualifying game over the next two series of matches. Former champions Real Madrid and Bayern Munich ticked off their third straight victories in this season's European Champions League on another absorbing night of action. Madrid beat Juventus by 1-0 at the Santiago de Bernabeu in Madrid, with England international Jude Bellingham bagging the winner on 57 minutes, and this came after he hit the post twice.
Vinicius Junior. Oh, he's opposed and Bellingham scores! Breakthrough for Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham's first of the season. Came out of nothing, really.
And Bayern Munich, they were ruthless. They crushed Club Brugge of Belgium by 4-0 at the Allianz Arena in Munich to go second in the standings.
Lovely stuff from Lennart Karl, who's surging away. Oh! Absolutely incredible! The 17-year-old on his first Champions League start has scored a glorious goal. Pushed on for Lima, dangerous. Oh, so easy for Harry Kane, who gets his customary goal in the Champions League already this season for Harry Kane. And the way this is going, that is a ball in. He's picked up Luis Diaz, who's got the goal and scored a beauty of a goal. Bayern running away with it. And push back for Lima, and surely in from Nicholas Jackson.
Chelsea were 5-1 winners over Ajax in London. Liverpool, they ended their 4-game losing streak by crushing Eintracht Frankfurt by 5-1. In fact, Liverpool actually came from behind to win that goal 5-1 away. And at Tottenham, they ended goalless with Monaco at the Stade Louis II Stadium in the French Principality. The West Indies and Bangladesh are meeting in a winner-take-all showdown at the Sher Bangla Stadium in Dhaka on Thursday morning, Jamaica time, with the 3-match one-day international series on the line. The teams Blues bowled a combined 92 overs of spin in the second game, which needed a super over to decide the winner, a victory that kept the West Indies in the series. Both teams are hoping that their respective batting lineups finally come to the party, with only Towhid Ridoy and West Indies captain Shai Hope scoring 50 so far in the series. The Windies could go in with the same 11, even though they have Amir Jangu just in case they need to make a change to the top 6. Hope, in reflecting on the thrilling second game, says he would be happy if the batters on the West Indies team learn from the mistakes they made in the first 2 games and come to the party finally in Game 3.
We certainly lost too many in the back end, and I was one to blame, running out Justin Graves at the back end. But I'm just happy that we got over the line, because I thought that dismissal there might have costed us. But yeah, we fought really hard for that one. I'm just happy for the batters to get over the line. Hopefully we can learn from this game, especially in the batting innings, and try to take those learnings into the next one.
That's West Indies white ball captain Shai Hope. The West Indies and Bangladesh are in direct competition for one of the 8 automatic spots to the World Cup in 2027. South Africa and Zimbabwe, the co-hosts, are already there, and so the next 6 will come from the West Indies, Bangladesh, England. Of course, there's also New Zealand and Australia. It's a really, really dogfight for this one last place that's available, and it should be decided come tomorrow. That's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade. From Kingston to the world, from Montego Bay to new adventures, and from Ocherias to endless possibilities. Wherever you're headed, we will proudly take you there. Jamaica's airport, your global gateway. The temperature brought to you by the Airports Authority of Jamaica is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? Geoland Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit account puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
MSME operators, the NWC MSME Amnesty is a lifeline. Grab it. Apply between September 1 and November 30, 2025. Visit nwcjamaica.com. Email us at customercare@nwc.com.jm. You can also visit any commercial office or dial 888-NWC. Get a 50% debt write-off on your small commercial account if you pay all other outstanding debts or sign a payment agreement to do so in 3 months. Apply today.
On Friday, October 24, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. when LASCO, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, proudly announces the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. Meet the Super 6, Jamaica's finest. Constable Monique Bartley, Corporal Stephen Smith, Corporal Rojeanne Holt, Detective Corporal Chadwick Williams, Constable Chantel Powell, and Detective Corporal Livy Evans. Finalists for the prestigious 2025 LASCO JCF Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Award. Tune into Cliff Hughes Online as we highlight and celebrate the outstanding service, leadership, and community impact of the Super 6. So tune in to Cliff News Online Friday, October 24 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Lasco Chin Foundation and the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on November 1, 2025 and help us celebrate the annual Local Government and Community Month. The first stop is the Mapen Seventh-day Adventist Church at 82 Fernley Avenue in Clarendon for the National Church Service on Saturday, November 1, starting at 10 a.m. Come join us and let's worship together. That's the Local Government and Community Month National Church Service at the Mapen Seventh-day Adventist Church, 82 Fernley Avenue, starting at 10 a.m. Hear it only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. Welcome to The Cover Story. I am Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. Good afternoon to you, Siobhan, and good afternoon to our listeners. And our focus this afternoon is on Tropical Storm Melissa and its preparation. Well, we can confirm that Jamaica remains in effect, that the Tropical Storm Watch remains in effect for Jamaica. This as Tropical Storm Melissa continues to move slowly across the Central Caribbean. The storm is moving at about 2 miles per hour. As at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, the Met Service of Jamaica reported the center of the storm was located at about 320 miles southwest of Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
That's 315 miles southeast of Kingston. And the principal director of the Met Service, that's Evan Thompson, says the system is expected to strengthen on its approach, with the center projected to pass south of the island.
And this is likely to occur sometime by Friday as we go into the weekend. Now, the system will begin most likely to impact Jamaica as early as Thursday, which is tomorrow. We should be getting rainfall from the system at that time. We continue to have the country under tropical storm watch. Not a warning, but a watch. And that means that tropical storm conditions are possible within 48 hours.
That's Evan Thompson. He's the principal director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica. He was speaking at a press conference at the Office of the Prime Minister today. Well, on the current forecast track, the system is expected to approach Jamaica before turning towards the west on Saturday and passing over the waters of South Jamaica through the start of next week.
In the meantime, JPS is activating its Emergency Operations Center as the island prepares for the impact of Tropical Storm Melissa. The company says saturated soil from recent rains, coupled with expected heavy rainfall, could lead to flooding and landslides that may damage the power network and cause outages. The JPS has also mobilized regional support, with the first group of line workers from St. Vincent set to arrive today to assist with any necessary restoration efforts.
The JPS says it will work to restore power safely and as quickly as possible in the event of any disruptions. However, the Light and Power Company is warning that access challenges may delay restoration in some areas. The company is reminding the public to prioritize safety during the passage of the storm. Well, how are the different agencies preparing for the upcoming storm? We're being joined by the Acting Manager of Corporate Public Relations for the National Water Commission, Delano Williams, and the Director of Corporate Communications at the Jamaica Public Service, that's Winsome Callum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon to you, Siobhan, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Mr. Williams, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon to both of you, the host, and also to my colleague agency from the JPS. Hi, Winsome.
Good afternoon to you both. Let's start with you, Winsome Callum. We remember the challenges from Hurricane Beryl, and we know the JPS has been working assiduously to put the country in a better footing in terms of its energy infrastructure. How do we stand?
I think that we are in a much better place than we were last year when we had the Hurricane Beryl. We learned a lot of lessons in terms of our response protocols and these sort of resources that we needed to have in place. So immediately after Hurricane Beryl, we changed our approach. We changed a number of things. One of them was to establish a business continuity unit to ensure we have a more coordinated, structured approach to our response. And we also, something that we had not done previously, we proactively engaged with external partners, both in the Caribbean as well as in North America, so that we can immediately call on their support ahead of a weather system, which, as you mentioned earlier, we have actually started with line workers coming in from neighboring utility in the region. So this is something that will support us in quick response to outages. And we do expect that there will be outages. There is no plan with a tropical storm. There's really no plan to have a system shutdown that the company will initiate. However, there will be outages, so we are in a much better place to respond. As we prepared for this also, we've done what we call some maintenance and grid hardening activities to just sort of ensure that the grid is more robust. It's an ongoing process, of course, but we believe that the grid has been strengthened in the past year.
Mm-hmm. And Winsome, are there specific regions that JPS has identified as high risk for outages or difficult to access during the restoration efforts?
Well, right now we're looking island-wide. We have not at this point identified any specific community or parish, but we do know that there are some areas that are prone to flooding, and we have had access challenges, especially in communities where you have the hilly terrain and where you have the long spans of line traversing difficult terrain. So those we are looking at in terms of deploying resources, but right now, based on how the system is forming, it's likely to impact the entire island, not any specific area. And by that I mean we will be seeing heavy rainfall right across the island, and that could result in a number of things, including landslides, impassable roads, and all of that could impact the supply to our customers.
We see where you've brought in additional assistance from overseas in preparation. How will that additional personnel now be deployed? Will it be from a central location, or will there be teams at strategic locations across the island in preparation for the post-storm cleanup?
Well, for now, the team that's coming in from St. Vincent tonight will be in Kingston. They will be deployed depending on how the system impacts the island. So we at this point, we are not clear as to where we'll be most badly hit. So we're going to have them in Kingston. We're seeing projections of eastern and southern parishes being affected. So we will make a decision as we monitor the system, how to deploy them. We expect others to come in between Thursday and Friday, and I believe we will have a clearer sense of how the system will impact the island so we can know how to deploy our resources.
That is Corporate Communications Director for the JPS, Winsome Callum. I understand you have to leave us at 5:45 as we take the break. Thank you for joining us, and when we come back, it will be the National Water Commission answering some questions.
Protecting your personal data is a priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. We urge you to use the agency's official platforms to conduct your business. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is...
It's 5:45.
One box, full belly. The Bird Shack Fried Chicken Flex Box has it all. Sandwich, wings, or chicken, wedges or fries, coleslaw plus a drink. Only $1,800. Best value in the streets. Flex Smart.
The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and 29 out west in Montego Bay.
When we go all out, crime and violence get stall out.
The Citizen Security Plan is an all-of-government initiative led by the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union to target the root causes of crime and violence.
Go all out.
Mental health support for the youth.
Go all out.
Working together with students and families to stop crime before it starts. The Citizen Security Plan. Together we can create safer streets and stronger communities. Go to mns.gov.jm to learn how you can play your part.
Welcome back. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. It's all about the weather this afternoon as a tropical storm Melissa approaches the island as a potential threat. We just spoke with the Corporate Communications Director for the Jamaica Public Service, Winsome Callum, and we now turn to the Acting Manager for Corporate Public Relations at the National Water Commission, Delana Williams. Greetings again, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon to your listeners as well.
So, an overview from you, if you will, in terms of the NWC's preparations for the impending storm.
No problem. So, one of the things we've recognized is how vital it is for our water supply to our customers. We currently feed over 500,000 customers, which, if you go with the average 4 persons per household, you're looking at roughly 2 million Jamaicans are served by the NWC. Now, with that reality, the water supply leading up to and after any kind of tropical storm or any kind of natural disaster is of significant importance. For this particular system, we've already mobilized our emergency plan. A number of our teams have already been mobilized across the parishes. We've also situated a number of our vehicles, heavy equipment, fuel that are necessary for response after the system would have passed. One of the things we've done preemptively to, or will be continuing over the next 24 hours, is the filling of our storage tanks, as in our distribution tanks now. These are large tanks situated in various communities that feed water to our customers. Preemptively, we've also sought to maximize or to ensure that all of our systems, or as many as possible of our systems, are running, and we typically strive to run them as close as possible to the onset of the storm conditions. We do have some systems that stand up to will stand up as much as possible. But I want to point out that, and these systems, beg your pardon, really are dependent on, we have backup generators on them, or they are gravity systems. So major town centers, Constant Spring, Mona systems feed those in Kingston. St. Anne, we have our Bogue system. In St. James, we have our Appleton Hall system that will maintain water supply for some time. But I want to highlight to our customers that we are still substantially fed by what we call surface sources. Winsome, in her presentation, would have highlighted that just the sheer impact that we could get will cause some disruption on the power grids. Those same flooding conditions, rainfall, siltation, and so could pose disruptions to our facilities as well. We actually have 60% of our systems being what we call rivers or springs, and those inevitably will likely to become inundated with some amount of turbidity or debris. So it's a collective effort that we are looking to really bring across as a message that while we are in a very good state of readiness in terms of mobilizing for both the pre-storm conditions and also for the quickest response afterwards, we're also asking our customers to be prepared as best as they can.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier the fact that you have backup power in most of the facilities. What's the plan to ensure that those generators, should you lose the power from the JPS, that those generators are properly fueled and maintained throughout the storm?
Well, that's one of the things. So part of the mobilization includes having backup fuel. So we would have stocked up on fuel. We have some contractors who have also been already engaged to mobilize with whatever additional material we need, whether it's for pipe fittings or fuel itself, because this is a finite, storage can be somewhat finite, so replenishing it will be crucial. I want to just correct a little bit of what you said. It's not most, but what we have is our larger systems do have backup. So most of the population in terms of the town centers, most of those areas will still be fed up to and most likely after, unless there is some kind of significant damage on the network itself, which we will then be forced to shut down and carry out the necessary remedial work once it's safe to do so.
In the unfortunate circumstance where there is a disruption to the water supply in certain areas, is the NWC in a position to respond to the customer needs by alternate methods if possible?
Where it's safe and where it's practical to do so. So if you're looking at moving a truck and the roads are impassable, then you will just simply have a challenge. Getting a repair team to the site is also one of the realities that we will have to assess once the storm passes. And that is why I was pointing out that we cannot yet predict what will happen until, but we're guided by the all clear signs or signals from the ODPEM and the other emergency teams who will guide us where we can get to, how quickly we can get there to restore water supply. As long as the network remains intact, we will then move to verify any system that we have shut down and restart as quickly as possible.
And can customers expect any pre-storm adjustments to water pressure or storage levels as part of any precautionary measures?
Well, we've for instance, as a great coincidence, our Mona Reservoir has come to full capacity just about a few days. We started the relaxation of those restrictions on Sunday into Monday. Similarly, all across the island where we have adequate water supply, we will seek to provide close to the maximum amount of pumping hours that we possibly can. This would give customers a chance to both clear up some of their domestics, and also to top up on storage. And ideally, we recommend at least 3 days storage.
You spoke to the concern that during the passage of the storm, the water may become particularly turbid. Are there any guidelines or restrictions you're suggesting to customers in terms of the potability of the water during that period?
Best practice during the hurricane, so we generally pump as long as it's safe to do so, but we can't necessarily predict what could happen between the pump station and a customer's home when you have storm conditions. And so best practice recommends that if you see anything that looks out of the norm, you can boil the water, alert the NWC, and we will seek to address it as quickly as we can.
Mm-hmm. And if communication lines go down and there are, let's say, widespread outages, how can customers report burst mains or any other urgent water issues that may arise?
All right, so we will be maintaining as long as we possibly can the toll-free number in terms of our customer care contact numbers. Those are the 888-225-5692 contacts. Our mobile app will also be running with updates. Our social media presence, we will maintain that. And we will be striving to put out daily updates in order to provide customers with the necessary information as to where their systems are, how close to restoration, and so on.
And if there's a potential infrastructure disruption as a result of the passage of the storm, does the NWC have their teams in place for post-storm passage repairs?
Yes. So part of what we've done is to situate our heavy equipment, backhoes, the water trucks are going to be filled. They're already filled and being situated at strategic points for dispatch. We may not necessarily be able to pinpoint all the locations, but we have our teams ready. Our plumbing teams are also ready to move as quickly as we can from each parish location.
Well, that sounds like you have adequate plans in place. Well, also, what about your repair crews? I'm assuming that you would pre-position at specific points also, the troubled spots?
Yes, so those crews are both. So those crews I refer to include our maintenance crews for electromechanical issues, our plumbing crews for pipeline network issues, and even some of what you would call operational crews who will take on some of the clearing of bushes, the use of the backhoes, and so on. So it will be a team that is suited for the likely conditions that we expect will arise out of a storm system. We cannot, in truth, pretend that we will not see some impact. We want to temper the customer's expectation that we may very well have water supply disruptions. Our commitment is that once it is safe to operate, we will do so. Where there are pumps that could become flooded, where there are pipes that may become disrupted, then it will force a disruption. But once we receive the all clear, our teams will mobilize to make those corrections.
That is the National Water Commission's Acting Manager for Corporate Public Relations, Delano Williams. Thank you for joining us, and please be safe for your team members as well as this storm passes.
Thank you. Extending the same to you and to your listeners who are my customers.
Very well. So, listeners, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. The storm is upon us. We hope we don't get a direct hit as per normal, but in the circumstances, both the NWC and JPS says they have things well in hand. So we will see once the time comes. This is Siobhan Campbell, and that has been the cover story.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. A tropical storm watch remains in effect for Jamaica as a tropical storm Melissa continues to move slowly across the central Caribbean. The Met Service says some gradual strengthening is anticipated over the next few days. As such, Melissa is expected to become a hurricane by tomorrow. Meanwhile, Water Minister Matthew Samuda says the ministry has begun implementing reserve energy supplies for Jamaica's most important water pumps.
One of the issues that came up as a major shortfall in our response post-Hurricane Beryl was how quickly we were able to get water systems up, especially ones that serve hospitals, infirmaries, and places of detention. That prompted a particular analysis that the Prime Minister had instructed to be done. So we've already identified all the water pumps that indeed service critical infrastructure, because electricity is indeed a critical element of our ability to distribute water. These pumps have been identified. We've already installed 3 major generators that service particular hospitals.
Water pumps are often impacted by prolonged power outages. The minister says the government has also identified private sector entities that have the generators necessary to power certain water systems.
And we're going through the PIAB process with the Ministry of Finance to procure the rest. We expect to invest just over $1 billion in generators early next year. But during the Beryl response, we also identified private sector suppliers who have triple phase generators, as opposed to the single phase that you'd use on homes. So we're able to, between working with JPS and our private suppliers, deal with most critical infrastructure.
Matthew Samuda, Water Minister. And as a tropical storm Melissa moves closer to the island, Jamaicans appear divided on how seriously they are preparing for the storm. Some say they're already making the necessary preparations.
I have already sent to the hardware to get some plyboards and some boards to do some buttoning down of the windows and some of the doors. Where foodstuff is concerned, I am all right because I operate a grocery shop.
Everything sealed and secure the windows, the doors, button down, so to speak, buy up the food them already. Yeah, man, tin mackerel stock up, animals them secure, and everything nice, man, take it well serious.
My preparation for this storm entails paying attention to the news bulletin, watching what is happening with this storm. I am taking all the necessary precaution measures in and around my house.
So I'll be buying tin food and just look around the household, like around the yard space for trees that are hanging over onto the roof and stuff like that, to just cut those down.
But not everyone is rushing to prepare just yet. Despite concerns, others believe the storm will pass with no major impact.
Since we've been on tropical storm watch, at one time I say Evan Thompson come out. So I not really take it too serious. However, just in case it comes, I have stuff can last me for at least 3 days.
I am not preparing for this storm because I know this storm is not coming. We're going to get rain, but no storm.
So I haven't prepared anything, I'm just here observing, watching the weather updates. Well, I have food in the house. My only concern is the flooding because we're in Westmoreland. So if we get a lot of rain, we're in the low-lying area, so we will flood. So that's my only concern.
I just believe by the mercies of Almighty God that no storm will not come to Jamaica.
Reactions to preparations for tropical storm Melissa. Opposition leader Mark Golding has declared that he will not back down from his position that Jamaica must become a republic at the same time it accepts the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, as its final appellate court.
any chance that the opposition will divorce the two?
No, not while I'm leader of the opposition. That will not happen. I believe that the first order of business is to secure access to justice for the people of Jamaica who have been deprived of it for nearly 200 years. You know, since their final court was across the Atlantic Ocean in a foreign capital that has nothing to do with us. And we believe that it's vital that we ensure that the government allows full decolonization now.
The opposition PNP withdrew from the Constitutional Reform Committee earlier this year after party leader Mark Golding criticized the Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness for not stating his position on the country's final appellate court. But with the Prime Minister now stating his preference for a local final court, Mr. Golding says his party remains unmoved in its demands.
The last thing I heard from the Prime Minister, which took me somewhat by surprise, was in the debate when he said that they were in favor of establishing a final court domestically here in Jamaica, which, for reasons that I probably won't go into now, we don't think is a viable approach at this time. And so, you know, I'm saying to the Prime Minister, listen, you know what our position is. It's a position that we have articulated forcefully for some time. And, you know, let us see what other areas of reform are possible so we can at least achieve a more accountable government, for example, a more effective parliament, and that sort of thing. You know, and let's get some forward momentum going on things that matter to the wider public if we can't agree on the decolonization issues up front.
Prime Minister Holness has invited Mr. Golding to have one-on-one dialogue on constitutional reform. But Mr. Golding says, as things stand, there seems to be a little more room for progress on the key issues of the Republic and the final court. He's left the door open for other discussions to take place when it sits with the Prime Minister.
But yes, we would like to have initiating discussions. I would like to have an initiating discussion with the Prime Minister on the approach to constitutional reform, form of consultation that will take place, and how we will avoid some of the pitfalls and errors that were made the last time round. And to see what areas of consensus can be agreed so that we can at least make some progress, even if we can't make progress on every issue. And I would be more than willing, and in fact, in light of what is happening now, we will have to raise issues to do with how the Parliament's made at those talks, if and when they take place.
Mark Golding, opposition leader. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall.
Up a total tools.
Weed whacker figure, trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total tools.
We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When you say home improvement, landscape construction, or Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, St. Anne's Bay. Call us today.
My Mega best value by far.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Good evening, welcome to your sports report. I'm Oreen Buchanan. Jamaica's Mount Pleasant Academy are leading Defence Force of Trinidad and Tobago 2-0 at halftime in their CONCACAF Caribbean Club first leg semi-final in Port of Spain. Jamaican international Warner Brown opened the scoring in the 5th minute, while Raheem Edwards increased the lead 8 minutes later. Defending champions Garvey Massey and former many-time winners Clarendon College played out a goalless draw in their marquee round of 16 showdown in the East Side Acosta Cup football competition at the Wembley Centre of Excellence in Clarendon on Wednesday. The result leaves both teams trailing title favourites Glenmuir, who defeated Magotty 1-0 in Maypen. In other games, Clarendon College swamped Malden 6-0, Ocho Rios stopped Old Harbour 1-0, McGrath beat Manchester High 2-0 and Dinty were leading the Manning School 2-0 in the latest score. Meanwhile, in the Manning Cup, Vauxhall and St. Catherine played out a 0-0 draw in their opening fixture in the round of 16. Both camps had mixed reactions to the result. Theo Brown, assistant coach of St. Catherine, was disappointed that his team squandered their goal-scoring chances.
As you see in the game, we get a number of chances. We never capitalize on it, and it really affects us in the game. And I think we need to work on that coming in the next game. I applaud the defense line. They really stand out today and really put out a good shift today. I mean, I would say more missed chances. And as you said, we have an attacking side where we depend on, and we need to go do better. We have worked on that in the training ground, come again, and we're not going to kill the guys. They're young, and we believe in them and we can know they can do better.
Meanwhile, Vauxhall head coach Kyle Butler says he was happy with taking a point away against the title favourites.
I'm very proud. Yeah, these are the Manning Cup finalists from last year. Not much change within them team. We knew that what we were up against, but we got a chance to win the game. There's a game of moments. They had their chances as well. So I feel like a draw is a fair result. That's it. We knew what we were up against. Kaden Young, Dwight Gentles are talented players. So we knew we had to be very disciplined defensively. But we didn't want to play a defensive game. We knew that we had to hit them in transition. So it was more of a transitional approach. And yeah, we got our chances from it. They got their chances. And it's football.
Kyle Butler, coach of Vauxhall. In other matches, Charlie Smith outscored St. George's College 4-2, Excelsior stopped Wolmer's 3-0, and Calabar ran past Campion College 4-1. Jamaican international Bobby Reid is the latest reggae boy to be sidelined by injury and is now a doubt for the country's two crucial FIFA World Cup qualification fixtures in the November window. It was revealed that Reid suffered a hamstring injury during Leicester City's EFL clash with Portsmouth after coming on as a 62nd minute substitute at the weekend. There's no timeline as yet for Reid's return to action. Eno joins Casey Palmer on the injury list as Palmer is ruled out for 8 to 10 weeks and will miss the two crucial qualifiers. Jamaica are current leaders of Group B with 9 points, one ahead of Curaçao 8, followed by Trinidad and Tobago on 5 and Cellar Dwellers Bermuda yet to get off the mark. The Reggae Boys will qualify automatically to a second World Cup finals once they beat Curaçao in their final qualifying game on November 18th at the National Stadium, irrespective of what happens in any of the other remaining qualifying games. Former champions Real Madrid and Bayern Munich ticked off their third straight victories in this season's European Champions League campaign on another absorbing day of action. Madrid beat Juventus of Italy 1-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu, with England international Jude Bellingham bagging the win on 57 minutes, and this after hitting the post on 2 occasions.
Vinicius Junior. Oh, he's opposed to Bellingham scores! Breakthrough for Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham's first of the season. Came out of nothing, really.
Bayern Munich were ruthless. They slammed Club Brugge 4-0 at the Allianz Arena to go second in the standings.
Lovely stuff from Lennart Karl, who's surging away. Oh! Absolutely incredible! The 17-year-old on his first Champions League start has scored a glorious goal. Pushed on for Lima, dangerous. Oh, so easy for Harry Kane, who gets his customary goal in the Champions League already this season for Harry Kane. And the way this is going, that is a ball in. He's picked up Luis Diaz, who's got the goal and scored a beauty of a goal. Bayern running away with it. And push back for Lima, and surely in from Nicholas Jackson.
Chelsea were 5-1 winners over Ajax in London. Liverpool ended their 4-game losing streak, slamming Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 away, and Tottenham ended goalless with AS Monaco at the Stade Louis II. Now to cricket, as the West Indies and Bangladesh are meeting in a winner-take-all showdown at the Sherry Bangladesh Stadium in Dhaka on Thursday morning Jamaica time, with the 3-match one-day international series on the line. The teams bowled a combined 92 overs of spin in the second game, which needed a super over to decide the winner, a victory that kept the West Indies in the series. Both teams are hoping that their respective batting lineups finally come to the party, with only Towid Heroy and the West Indies captain Shea Hope scoring 50 so far in the series. The Windies could go in with the same 11 through, though they have Amir Jangu if they choose to make a change in the top 6. Hope, in reflecting on the thrilling second game, says he's hoping the batters show improvement in the deciding encounter.
We certainly lost too many in the back end, and I was one to blame, running out Justin Graves at the back end. But I'm just happy that we got over the line, because I thought that dismissal there might have costed us. But yeah, we fought really hard for that one. I'm just happy for the batters to get over the line. Hopefully we can learn from this game, especially in the batting innings, and try to take those learnings into the next one.
West Indies white ball captain Shea Hope. The West Indies and Bangladesh are in direct competition to host South Africa and Zimbabwe as one of the 8 automatic qualifiers to the next World Cup in 2027. The West Indies women have begun an intensive 8-week training camp in Antigua to prepare for a rigorous year of cricket. The camp, which started on October 20th and is scheduled to end on the week of December 8th, is designed to lay a strong foundation as the Maroon Warriors gear up for a demanding international schedule that features 6 tours, 15 one-day internationals, a test match, and the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Approximately 20 senior squad members are in camp with the goal of having the entire group fully prepared by the end of the year to sustain peak performance, particularly for the World Cup. The camp is structured around 3 pillars: strength and conditioning, individual skill development, team culture and leadership, with a small group coaching being put in place to ensure individualized attention and high performance standards. West Indies women head coach Shane Dietz underscored the importance of the camp as the team looks to improve on their semi-final finish in the last T20 World Cup, in addition to achieving success across the various series. The regional side will start the year by hosting Sri Lanka in February, followed by an all-format home series against Australia in March and April. In May, the squad travels to Ireland for a tri-series with the hosts and Pakistan before heading to England for the T20 World Cup. After the tournament, they return to Ireland for a bilateral ODI series in July. September and October will see the squad do battle against Zimbabwe in a white ball focused tour before closing the year with another white ball home series against Pakistan in December. Australia maintained their unbeaten run at the ICC Women's ODI World Cup in India, beating previously undefeated England by 6 wickets in Colombo on Wednesday. Set 245 to win, the defending champions raced to 248 for 8 in 40.3 overs, thanks mainly to the brilliant Ashley Gardner, who scored an unbeaten 104.
Wants to go up and over, does exactly just that. Some style to finish off a magnificent win for Australia. They remain undefeated in this World Cup, and in fact England's first defeat here in indoor. It's a convincing win in the end by 6 wickets, but all eyes are on the scoreboard.
It was Gardner's second century of the tournament as she shared an unbroken 5th wicket stand of 180. The tournament continues on Thursday with India facing New Zealand starting at 4:30 a.m. Jamaica time. And now to finish off sports, after collecting their championship rings and raising the championship banner inside the Paycom Center, the OKC Thunder defeated Houston Rockets 125-124 in an overtime victory in the opening game of the 2025-2026 NBA season. The Thunder were led by their commander-in-chief Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who poured in some 35 points.
There's that zone you talked about, Jamal. And that is the all-time zone breaker. Gilgeous-Alexander to the basket, and SGA gets his first field goal of the night. Jamal here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander only 1 of 4 from the field. 3 points. Changes it there.
In the night's other fixture, the Golden State Warriors defeated the LA Lakers 119-109 on the back of a 31-point performance by Jimmy Butler. LA Lakers guard Luka Doncic at 43 points.
His high release point almost behind his head and his size. And Jimmy Butler drains the dribble. Corner to Lakers. Kuminga up the floor quickly. Lob it up with Butler soaring through the air. And no other players, but he can be so effective. One of the biggest challenges in making the trade for Doncic was relinquishing so much size. Curry got it.
Those are our stories making your evening sports report. I'm Maureen Buchanan.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
90 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock.
Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited are authorized distributors of international brands ABB, Omron, STC, Festo, and Thomas & Betts. They supply programmable logic controllers, photoelectric and proximity sensors, contactors and soft starters, power supplies, variable frequency drives, and much more. Visit them at 24 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston, or shop 32 Overton Plaza, 46 Union Street, Montego Bay, or visit their website cleasling.net. Cleasing Industrial Supplies for all your industrial automation and control solutions.
Give your team a glow up at the 2025 Business and Personal Etiquette Conference on November 6th at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Procure the presence, polish, and professionalism to make your team unforgettable. Hosted by Make Your Mark Consultants in partnership with Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Visual Tech Solutions, Nationwide 90 FM, Main Event, and more. Register now at makeyourmarkgroup.com or call 876-978-6001 for the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference.
On Friday, October 24, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. when LASCO, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, proudly announces the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. Meet the Super 6, Jamaica's finest. Constable Monique Bartley, Corporal Stephen Smith, Corporal Rojeanne Holt, Detective Corporal Chadwick Williams, Constable Chantal Powell, and Detective Corporal Livy Evans. Finalists for the prestigious 2025 LASCO JCF Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Award. Tune into Cliff Hughes Online as we highlight and celebrate the outstanding service, leadership, and community impact of the Super 6. So tune into Cliff Hughes Online Friday, October 24 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by LASCO Chin Foundation and the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our friends over there on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask of you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It concerns Parliament and parliamentary proceedings and what took place yesterday. So the opposition walked out of the House of Representatives yesterday following Speaker Juliet Holness's demand that they stick to the standing orders when asking questions. Mrs. Holness clamped down on the practice of lengthy statements accompanying questions to ministers. Mark Golding is the opposition leader.
I'm very concerned by the way in which the proceedings are being conducted. We are attempting to ask questions arising from the statement. The statement was a wide-ranging statement. It not only touched and concerned the specific minister's portfolio, he also said he was speaking on behalf of the Minister of Local Government, who is overseas, who has direct responsibility for disaster preparedness. On more than one occasion, the member on this side who was sought to ask a question has been prevented from completing the question, and instead a point of order has been taken, which I don't know what the ruling was, or you yourself have intervened to prevent the statement, the question from being asked. I want to know what the question was that the member for South East St. Mary was seeking to ask. I don't know what his question is.
Mark Golding, opposition leader. This is the third sitting of the House of Representatives in the new parliamentary term. Things came to a head as the opposition attempted to question Minister Matthew Samuda regarding his statement on Tropical Storm Melissa. Golding took the Speaker to task for her approach shortly before leading his members in a walkout. So in public opinion this evening, we're asking, do you think parliamentary walkouts are effective? What do you make of the walkout? I'll start with the comments on our X platform. Let me see. The Englishman. Wow. Start already. All right, let's go on Facebook, where Nadia Dockery is saying, no, the leader of the opposition need to understand that Parliament is not a ramping shop. There are rules that the Parliament is guided by, and therefore they must adhere to. Philip Harrison is saying, yes, it's like having a conversation with your colleague and they hang the phone up on you. It's a form of disrespect, says Philip Harrison. Joan Violet is saying, if you can't be a good opposition, there is no way you can be a good government. Carlington Bartley saying, as a practitioner of discipline, it's very difficult to separate the opposition's action from a child throwing tantrums. I don't think they're all childish, but following a leader who is, they all will come across looking as such. Fabian Smith saying, no, but the opposition can stay out of the Parliament. Hopton Robinson, let's hear what Hopton Robinson has to say. The Speaker as well as the government members must afford the opposition the respect that is constitutionally due to them. He says in all healthy democracy, the Speaker is unbiased and must be seen to be so. We pride ourselves in following the Westminster style of democracy, but fail miserably when it comes to choosing a Speaker. Robinson went on to say that this Speaker is blatantly biased and that it is a problem. All right. Kurt Powell is saying no. Walking out of Parliament, parliamentary walkouts is not at all effective. It has lost its effectiveness. Powell is saying that this opposition, they are power hungry, he says. They're too desperate for state power. Othniel Blair, them not walking out on their personal business meetings when things go wrong, but they are walking out on the nation's business when they are being paid by taxpayers. If you're just joining us, we're inside the Court of Public Opinion, where we want to hear from you, members of the public. So those of you who are on YouTube, please feel free to comment in the comment section. Do you think parliamentary walkouts are effective? Let me go on over there. Reggaematic is saying, concede Mark Golding. View says, no, they are disrespectful and Golding is only showboating. He has no plan to get anything done for the next 5 years. Where is the bias? Linda Ming is questioning, where is the bias? I guess this was in response to one of the responses I read earlier. Let me see. Jacqueline Thomas is saying there should be a law when anyone walk out, they must stay out. Wow, Jacqueline. All right. Andy is saying, don't fool yourselves. The opposition will never cooperate with the elected government. Mercedes Morgan, no walking out, not helping us. They must follow the rules. Let me see. Miss Chin is saying, if by dissing the Jamaican people you mean effective, then yes, the opposition walkout achieved just that. But Mark Golding is gambling with his political future. The opposition needs to go study the standing orders. Dale Hay on YouTube. Mark Golding is not fit to be the leader of the opposition. Julian Robinson should be the one in the position, says Dale. Remember, people, these are not the views of us. I know we views, I know we say so, uno say so. Fact saying, Robian, no, the shadow spokesperson never shadow their respective ministries, and they never ask questions pertaining to the government sector. That's coming from Facts. Political analyst says Jamaica needs a viable opposition. Cynthia Matheson, Mark Golding has been disrespectful in every respect, including Monday when the people were being honored. Okay, no pay for anyone who walk out, says Marcia James. Well, I hope they're listening. I hope the powers that be are listening to these suggestions coming from you, members of the public, you, the valued taxpayers. Yeah.
Ozra Walker saying they will walk out for the next 5 years. Alec is saying that his question, he's saying, I was around and leave, but then I wonder why I leave, but I could understand the reason. Can you tell me, Roby, why the walkout? That's the question. Well, it pertains to a series of questions that was being asked. And well, Mrs. Holness clamped down on the practice of lengthy statements accompanying questions to ministers. You know, on some occasions we've seen where statements are being made instead of questions being asked in some instance. Beryl Witter is saying that the opposition is a disgrace. Donna Thompson believes that they should follow the rules. The business of JA will continue. A lot of comments coming in from this one. Andy and everybody else who's asking for the speaker's response. Do remember that this is a short segment and the story was already brought in that sense. Sharon Bless, I see you asking as well. No surprise, Dem Onowafe lead committee, says Ronald Williams. Let me see if I can get some of the comments on our Instagram. Padworthy is saying, we think the Prime Minister's wife should not be the speaker. Shaz saying, no, all the PNP needed to do was ask a question. Juliet Holness did a good job going by the book. Junior Nana is saying, yes, because they still get paid, only it won't be effective. Only way it will be effective, Junior Nana is saying, is when we stop pay the MPs. Jake Dan says, no, only if a majority of the parliament walk out to stop a vote on a bill. Dre Views is saying, Mark Golding needs to tell his first-term MPs to go read the standing orders. And he's saying that's simple. Liliana says, Mark Golding walking out was good because the house was so quiet. Sonia Walters, they walk out, they don't need to go back. All right, a lot of comments coming in on this one. We love them, keep them coming. Chetigan is questioning, how did the walkout help the flood preparation? Stroking of the ego is all the PNP seems to be about these days. Gray Thompson saying that they are political, the parliament is a political theatre designed to make front page of news. Or I should not say that the parliament. He says, no, they are political theatre. Let me see. Hey, it's Lady Cutchinson saying it solves nothing as the people's issues are not dealt with. She believes that it's petty people who walk out. Mature people stay and find solutions to the concerns and deal with the people's agenda. Yeah. My question is, why the opposition acting like they don't about the hurricane preparedness? Or is that they don't want to know about the hurricane preparedness? They're playing vindictive, says Kerry K. Maxine is saying, Mark don't know the standing orders. Okay. Beryl Witter to the speaker, hold your ground. All right, that's all the time we have for public opinion. I know that I did not get through to all the comments. We appreciate you for sending in the comments. Margie G telling me to read your comment. Let me see if I can scroll up. I beg your bear with me, because I wear glasses, so I have to be scrolling all the way up to see, and it's very difficult to see everybody's comment. So forgive me, Margie. I'm not seeing it. The opposition needs a credible leader, says Neville Bennett. Margie G, you can send back your response. Me no want you have me up. Let me see. Mark Golding, who is us, asking Janet. This walkout was ineffective. They lost points. Juliet won points. That's according to Kirk. Let me see if I can get in some more. Philip Jackson say, you forgive me. Thank you so much. If Juliet goes, Marlene comes. Mark doesn't like both ladies. That's according to Marcia Favor more than a conqueror. All right, getting the wrap-up signal. Thank you guys so much. Marjorie G is saying Mark Golding owns... Okay. Okay, Margie. Margie saying Mark Golding owns nothing in Jamaica, so he can go. All right. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. The business report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, October 23. That's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 90 octane will see a decline of $3.06 per litre. 87 octane will also see $3.66% decline per litre. Meanwhile, automotive diesel fuel will go down by $3.06 per litre. So too will ultra-low sulfur diesel will see a decline of $3.06 per litre. Propane liquid petroleum will go down by $1.01 per litre, and butane liquid petroleum will see a decline of 60 cents. Kerosene will go up by $3.06. Further afield, the U.S. has announced new sanctions targeting Russia's two largest oil companies in an effort to pressure Moscow to negotiate a peace deal in Ukraine. I just felt it was time. We waited a long time, Trump said in the Oval Office after a meeting to discuss peace negotiations. The announcement came one day after U.S. President Donald Trump said a meeting planned with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest would be shelved indefinitely. Earlier Wednesday, Russia unleashed an intense bombardment on Ukraine that killed at least 7 people, including children. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 161 Jamaican dollars and 28 cents to buy $1 US. It cost 214 Jamaican dollars and 92 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 114 Jamaican dollars and 24 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Good evening.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Already have a T-Tag for your vehicle? Just top it up and go through. Now you can see funds in your T-Tag account almost immediately after topping up. So if you're already on your journey, you can safely pull off the road and top up using the My T-Tag app or WhatsApp, or ask your passenger to do it for you. And within 5 to 10 minutes, you can enjoy the lower toll rates and other benefits of the T-Tag lane. Even if you forget to top up before you started your trip, top up your T-Tag and continue to go through quicker and cheaper on Transjam highways.
Give your team a glow up at the 2025 Business and Personal Etiquette Conference on November 6th at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Procure the presence, polish, and professionalism to make your team unforgettable. Hosted by Make Your Mark Consultants in partnership with Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Visual Tech Solutions, Nationwide 90 FM, Main Event, and more. Register now at makeyourmarkgroup.com or call 876-978-6001 for the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowners Savings Plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
MSME operators, the NWC MSME Amnesty is a lifeline. Grab it. Apply between September 1 and November 30, 2025. Visit nwcjamaica.com. Email us at customercare@nwc.com.jm. You can also visit any commercial office or dial 888-NWC. Get a 50% debt write-off on your small commercial account if you pay all other outstanding debts or sign a payment agreement to do so in 3 months. Apply today.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking it.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. Welcome back. It is now time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. Well, works are set to be done in section of the Sandy Gully in a move to ensure there can be enough free flow of water along the network. This in light of expected effects from Tropical Storm Melissa.
Manager of the Communication Customer Services and National Water Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, spoke on Nationwide this morning.
In length, what is very critical to stormwater flow is the lower section, which is that section of the gully which is closer to Spanish Town Road. That's where the visit is slated to be. We really want to ensure that the bridge that spans the gully in the vicinity of Riverton, that it is protected, it is secured. We want to ensure that it has enough free flow in the gully for the water to move from the hills out to sea. And so we are slated to do some work in that space.
Well, that water channel is the most important defense against flooding in the corporate area, and Mr. Shaw says work will also be conducted along Shoemaker and Burger gullies in the corporate area as well.
Two areas that are particularly weak based on visits that have been done and reports that have been made, to section of the Shoemaker Gully and a section of the McGregor Gully. And we started some work in the McGregor Gully area yesterday to continue this. Today we are going to be starting some work in a section of the Shoemaker Gully today. In essence, what we are seeking to do in the case of the Shoemaker Gully, there is a pedestrian bridge in this space that we need to shore up, and the effort is going to be spent to try and do that so that persons will have an access to and from the area there by Gem Road.
That's Stephen Shaw. He's
at the National Works Agency. Well, the NAA says it has conducted 2 tranches of mitigation works since June. And the NAA Communications Manager says the agency will speak when its partners in vulnerable areas and put them on alert to pre-position equipment where necessary. A tour of the gully today was led by Works Minister Robert Morgan, and he now joins us. Good evening, Minister.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Minister, you toured sections of the Sandy Gully today. What did you observe on the ground regarding the current state of the gully and the overall readiness of the drainage work?
Well, we do have some silting on the gully, especially in the vicinity of the bridge that spans Spanish Town Road. But we have been able to mobilize heavy equipment to get work done to do some desilting. I also toured sections of East Kingston and Port Royal, as well as East Rural St. Andrew, where we went to Wiki-Waki and several other areas. What I also want to announce is that we have allocated approximately $250 million to members of parliament and their constituencies on the south coast, where we expect to have significant rainfall. So there should be no challenge in most members of parliament and the parish offices of the National Works Agency doing mitigation works urgently to prevent flooding in their areas.
So, Minister, can you say that again, that $250 million is specific to South Coast MPs?
Most of the South Coast MPs stretching, well, it's not really South Coast alone, because when the rains come, they usually start in Portland and St. Mary. So from St. Mary all the way to St. Elizabeth, touching sections of St. Anne, touching sections of rural St. Andrew, but most seats along the south coast of Jamaica have been allocated resources, including seats in Portmore, in St. Catherine, in Clarendon, in St. Elizabeth, in Manchester, have been allocated resources to assist with mitigation works.
I asked, Minister, because undoubtedly you heard some of the complaints leveled by the opposition between yesterday and today about what they believe they were being left in the lurch when it comes to the preparations for the storm. You're suggesting that is sorted now? Or was it even the case?
That the opposition's recent approach is all politics. I am not in the mood of politics right now. The elections are finished on the 3rd of September. My job as the Minister of Works is to ensure that we make the necessary actions to secure life and property of Jamaican people. We have a plan. We are very experienced. We have the example of Beryl by which to go by, so we know how to manage disasters. The Disaster Management Committee has been activated. The Paris Disaster Management Committee has been activated. The Prime Minister is leading the charge. Minister of Climate Change and Minister Mattis Samuda and Environment is out there. So too Minister of Labour and Social Security, as well as the Minister of Local Government and myself. So the government has adopted a whole of government approach to this process. We really do not have the time to get into any political arguments with political leaders about mitigation or about how to start the process of protecting the country from the storm. What we have time for is to focus on the work that we need to do to prepare ourselves for the storm when it comes.
And as we prepare for the storm, Minister, how confident are you that the ongoing cleaning and reinforcement works will reduce the risk of flooding, especially as Tropical Storm Melissa moves closer to the island?
It will have an impact, but I want to warn Jamaicans that no matter how much drain cleaning we do, drain cleaning will not prevent water from running. And if you are going to have a system that is going to dump a foot of water in a particular geographic space, no drain will be able to accommodate all that. What we also suggest to persons is that while the government is going to be doing a lot of work in terms of trying to mitigate the impact of flooding, there's also a level of personal responsibility that is required. Personal responsibility, if you know you live in a flood-prone area like Portland Cottage, you have to be cognizant of the risk that may affect you, and you have to recognize where the shelters are that the government has designated. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management is well equipped to assist all citizens across the island. The Paris Disaster Committees are equipped to assist all citizens across the island to protect life and to ensure that they are safe. And what we're asking our citizens is to recognize the danger that may be posed by significant rainfall in their particular area and to heed the warnings of the local authorities and the emergency services. We're going to do our part as the government. We're going to do the work. We're going to ensure that we try to clean as many drains as possible. You have seen what we've been doing, pouring thing in terms of trying to mitigate the possible impact. But we still need the support of the population, our partners in disaster preparedness.
And Minister, that ongoing work, obviously the time's upon us. I think we have substantially up to Friday at best to get those things done. Will we be on schedule for that?
Well, we are very experienced in disaster mitigation, you know. It was only a little bit over a year ago that we had to mobilize the entire country to prepare for Beryl. And I think we did a very good job. Well, not we. The country did a very good job in preparing for Beryl. And when Beryl happened, we were able to open back the country within a few days. So Jamaica is very experienced, having had decades of experience in terms of disasters, not just since this government has been in power, but we have an institutional knowledge within our agencies, the local government institution, the ADPEM, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, as well as our business sector, the tourism sector, the private sector. We have very good experience in dealing with disasters, and most Jamaicans know what to do when we have reached this stage, to get very prepared, to get their supplies and so on. Our job as a government is to lead. Our job as a government is to demonstrate that we're acting as in a national way to give the people the opportunity to do the right things to protect life and property, and that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And during your site visit today, Minister, were there any major blockages or areas of concern identified that may require immediate intervention before the impact of the storm?
Well, there are going to be areas across the corporate area that are vulnerable. There are several gullies, especially the McGregor Gully in the constituency of Philip Paulwell. You have sections of the Sandy Gully that are vulnerable. But you also have sections of Portland Cottage, which is below sea level, sections of South St. Elizabeth and South Manchester, which are vulnerable, sections of Southwest and Southeast Clarendon, as well as you have vulnerabilities in Portland and St. Mary, where sections of St. Mary are below sea level, especially Port Maria. So you have to be cognizant of as a government as to these risks, and you have to take the necessary precautions. The emergency services have to be on high alert. Wherever for example, we're doing a lot of sandbagging on the McGregor Gully to ensure that the water does not necessarily come over into people's yards. But there's a bigger conversation that needs to take place nationally, and it relates to why have we allowed over the last decade, before my time, before your time, so many persons to live on gully banks, which is not a very wise place for persons to live, because as climate change occurs, as the rain events become more intense, you find that a lot of the gully banks are being breached by water and people are losing their property because of flooding. And that's something that the government has to take into serious consideration. And there has to be a policy formulation, which we have already started doing, as to how we're going to say, you cannot live there anymore. You're going to lose your life if you live there. And persons are going to have to accept, as a nation, the country is going to have to accept that there are going to be certain no-go areas for habitation. And if you are living in a no-go area, the government is going to be obligated to assist you in moving. And that's something that we're going to have to do, because every year we keep having this conversation. People should not be living on gully banks. And it dies. And it is one thing we're going to do as a government over the next term, is find a solution for our citizens who, many of them never had a choice because they never had anywhere to live. We have to give them a solution so that they no longer are forced to be traumatized. Their children can't go to school because all their books are flooded out. They have to be jumping through windows whenever there's a storm. We have to fix this, and we have to move our people off the gully bank.
Minister, I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. We've had that discussion numerous times over the years in terms of areas that are not fit for human habitation in terms of the ecological or environmental circumstances, but there doesn't seem to be any political will to act upon it, even if we're bringing that legislation forward. Are you suggesting that within this term of government that we can see the political will to carry out those resettlement exercises?
We've already had discussions at the highest level in government. We've had consultations with various members of parliament who have that vulnerability. And the reality of it is, we no longer have a choice. As climate change evolves, as the rain events become more unpredictable. Remember, within 90 minutes in a day in September, we had a quarter of the rain we were supposed to have for the entire September. The entire city was flooded. That is what is coming. And if we don't, as a government, looking as a representative of the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, we have to look at what we need to do as a government to protect our citizens. And the reality of it is that living on a gully bank in an era of climate change and intense rain events, which is going to cause extraordinary flooding, is not a wise idea, and we have to do something about it. So there will be policy changes, there will be legislative changes within the next 2 years to ensure. And we're not going to just kick people out of their homes. The government has an obligation to find solutions incrementally over time to give people the opportunity to not live where they are at risk.
So therefore, the government is quite prepared, Minister, to have that hard conversation, one with the MP, because sometimes there can be political risk in the sense that people will talk about votes. And it's a conversation that we have heard before.
We've already started those conversations. Yeah. We have had support from opposition MPs, government MPs, because I think the reality of it is the MPs recognize that their political faith is not as valuable as the lives of the people that they represent. Yeah. And that's something that I think the recognition has come about. We're no longer in a particular era. We're in an era now where people's lives and their human rights are sacrosanct. And as a government, that is our obligation, to protect the right to life and the human rights of not only the adults who live there by choice, but the children who are forced to live there because that's where they were born.
Strong words, Minister Morgan, and I really hope we can see the follow through there. But you can understand that the Jamaican people are somewhat cynical when it comes to statements like these. So we look forward to seeing where that goes. That is Minister of Works, Robert Morgan. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me, and thanks to your listeners for listening.
All the best, Minister.
More after this break.
The Pink Run, a corporate wellness challenge, encourages physical activity, healthy eating, and age-appropriate health checks. Remember, early detection saves lives. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is...
It's 7 o'clock.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on November 1, 2025 and help us celebrate the annual Local Government and Community Month. The first stop is the Mapen Seventh-day Adventist Church at 82 Fernley Avenue in Clarendon for the National Church Service on Saturday, November 1, starting at 10 a.m. Come join us and let's worship together. That's the Local Government and Community Month National Church Service at the Mapen Seventh-day Adventist Church, 82 Fernley Avenue, starting at 10 a.m. Hear it only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to Nationwide at 5. We are switching gears a bit away from the weather to another matter where the Transport Authority, in collaboration with the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Island Traffic Authority, is seeking to intensify its road activities with the launch of Operation Ride Safe. The operation will specifically target public passenger vehicles and their operators who are not conforming with the Transport Act and regulations. Under Operation Ride Safe, PPVs will be checked for loud and lewd music, dark tints, unapproved markings, defective vehicles, uniforms, and badges.
Well, on Tuesday, 434 vehicles were checked, and of those vehicles, 102 summons were served, 88 tints were removed, and 47 inappropriate graphics were removed. 23 license plates were also removed, 54 operators were ticketed by the police, and one vehicle was seized. The Transport Authority's Managing Director, Ralston Smith, is reiterating that the authority has adopted a zero-tolerance approach. He says they will continue to implement and enforce the standards of the operations of public transportation services in order to ensure the safety and security of the commuting public and other road users.
Well, Operation Ride Safe is expected to be taken island-wide in the coming days and will continue over the next few weeks. Mr. Smith joins us now. Good evening, Mr. Smith.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. So, just to explain, what are the main objectives behind this operation in terms of the zero-tolerance approach taken by the Transport Authority?
Well, the main objective is to reset the operations out within the Kingston metropolitan region and the wider Jamaica as a whole. It is intended on bringing back some semblance of order to the space in terms of getting rid of the noise nuisance on public passenger vehicles, playing of loud and lewd music on public passenger vehicles, lapping up in some instances of the students who continue to take some of these privately owned and operated space guide vehicles. It intends to treat the whole matter of heavily dark tins and public passenger vehicle, a cover that is used for some kind of lascivious practices in some instances. It is intended to reset the order to ensure that drivers and conductors wear the appropriate uniform and to provide the public transportation services to the commuting public with dignity and class, and to ensure that the commuting public travels in comfort and style.
Now, the operation is being executed in partnership with the JCF and the Island Traffic Authority. Help us to understand, how is that collaboration structured, and what does coordination on the ground look like among these agencies?
Well, the Transport Authority is a lead entity in this particular assignment. The structure of this operation really is the Transport Authority taking lead in terms of taking on the offences in respect of the whole matter of checking of the vehicles for the various infractions. The police is a critical partner in all of this in terms of intercepting some of these vehicles and prosecuting for various offences, some of the offences for which are not within the remit of the Transport Authority. For example, some of the defects. The Island Traffic Authority is another key stakeholder on this particular assignment, and the examiners from Island Traffic Authority are there to test the vehicles out there in the field just to ensure that they are roadworthy. The heavy dark tins on the public passenger vehicle will sometimes obscures the vision of the drivers and prevents the inward view of law enforcement. So the law requires that both the police and the Transport Authority should be able to see inside the vehicle from outside, and to the extent that the vehicles are, darkened with heavy tin, it prevents that inward view, and therefore the examiner is there to check for physical defects, to check for the amplification of musical equipment in public passenger vehicles, and the Transport Authority is treating the whole matter in terms of the rules, the regulations, the badges, the wearing of uniform, the tins, as we mentioned, the playing of the musical equipment on the public passenger vehicle. We are carrying out seizures for vehicles that are found to be operating without the appropriate road license. And we are prosecuting for the various offences just to bring to book the situation. We intend to intensify this approach. We will be, from this operation, maintaining a database of the offences, specific offences, and we intend to escalate this matter up to the point of revocation or suspension of the license, depending on the nature of the offences, the frequency of the offences. And we will be writing to the owners of these vehicles to bring them in the know of how some of their vehicles are operating out there and to hold them to account.
So the capability is there in terms of preventing many of these operators from essentially racking up various offenses and just ignoring them as time goes on.
Please repeat that for me. I didn't get that.
I'm saying that the capability is there for the Transport Authority to hold them to book, in terms of, rather than allowing them to just rack up offense after offense and just ignore them and just allow time to go on, and they operate as if they're a law unto their own.
You're correct. The authority is empowered to revoke or suspend license based on the, like I said, the nature of the infraction, the frequency of the breach, among other things. And the authority has reviewed its revocation and suspension policy, adopted it and we're in the gear and where we intend to launch, and that is why we want to reset the order. We want to communicate with the licensees, the owners of these vehicles, because many times the vehicles are out there not being operated by the person who owns the vehicle, and sometimes the owners, sometimes they're not in the know, the law holds them over vicariously liable, because we issue to them a license with certain conditions, and they're supposed to ensure that the vehicle operates in accordance with the conditions attaching to the license. I don't understand how we have some of these vehicles that the graffiti on the vehicles are such, and these vehicles are garaged at the houses. The owners are acutely aware of some of these situations, the kind of things that we have on this vehicle, the musical sounds, the vibrations coming from this vehicle, and these are some of the things we intend to authorize. You would have seen in the social media landscape videos of some public passenger vehicles driving fearlessly and recklessly, much to the endangerment of the the public as a whole. And we intend to target these vehicles as well to ensure that they understand that when they set foot around the steering wheel of a public passenger vehicle, there are certain duties and responsibilities, duty of care to the passengers themselves, to the other motoring and commuting public that they must exercise once they set foot around the steering of a public passenger vehicle.
This is a challenge I have, Mr. Smith. It's not the first time I'm hearing about initiatives such as these to get these PPV operators who are not conforming to the law to abide by it. What is going to be different this time in terms of sustaining this program to ensure that these operators remain compliant?
That's a very good question. I appreciate that. We have set out a very clear strategy for dealing with this, and part of this is to ensure that we have sufficient boots on the ground to do the mapping of activity after we launch for the first 2-3 weeks of this assignment. Beyond that, like I said from the initial onset, is that we have established a database, and we will use the information from the database to treat the matter of suspension or revocation of license, as the case may be. So we intend to follow through. What was absent from prior plans is a whole follow-through process, whereas it's not just about the prosecution. We want to restore order to the space. And in doing that, we have to ensure that the owners, the drivers, the operators of public passenger vehicles are held accountable for their action.
And have you here, Mr. Smith, and I can't let you go without asking you, does the Transport Authority ensure that the PPV operators utilize the fare schedule as you establish? Do you police the space for that, and have you actually prosecuted anyone for such breaches?
Yes, we do. Thank you for asking that question. The authority does police the space for that kind of infraction, and we from time to time carry prosecution. For this particular offense, for the most part, save and except you use agent provocateur, that is to say you use your own officers to board and bait the vehicles, you'd have to rely on the complaint of the traveling public. So in the instances where we have had complaint, we have done a lot of intervention in terms of going back in the space, disseminating flyers, information, talking to drivers, and where it merits a situation, we have carried out prosecution for the infraction or the violation.
And to the extent then, if these prosecutions be carried out, because it seems to not be derailing the practice of overcharging passengers or passengers being perceived to be overcharged, is there a timeline in terms of promises of making the understanding of the fare schedule more simplistic for those utilizing public passenger vehicles to understand, so that they realize they're being overcharged?
Thank you. Very important question again. So here is a mixed model in terms of the modalities of services offered. So on the one hand, you have the Hackney carriage operator, on the other hand, you have the route taxi operator. Both are operating on separate fare structures, and the fare along a particular corridor will be different depending on which of the modalities you choose. And in some instances, we find that there is a semblance of confusion, or the issues are conflated in relation to what is the fare to be charged. Therefore, a recommendation was made at the steering committee level to have a flat fare, especially within the KMTR, for the route taxi operators. That submission, of course, would require legislative changes. We have put submissions before our minister, and I'm certain that the minister is considering the recommendation that is before him in terms of a flat fare. We believe that the introduction of a flat fare for route taxi will help to bring about a better understanding of the fare structure within the KMTR route using fare stage arrangement, and would give the public a very clear indication as to exactly what the fare is along a particular route, and the operators themselves would be in the know. And therefore, we would become highly intolerant of any act or action on the part of a driver who tries to overcharge a commuter.
I ask because doesn't the space operate as if it's a flat fare already? They charge you whatever they charge you, and they might charge you a little additional for a turn off somewhere. So in terms of how they operate on a flat fee structure, but it seems that that fee changes as to their whim rather than to the actual regulations and schedules set down by the Transport Authority?
So the fare per route tax is not a flat fare. It's that two-tier arrangement, whereas there's a base rate and there's a per kilometer rate that is applied depending on the distance that the kilometer travels. And there seems to be some issue with some of the drivers in terms of the calculation. What the authority has done to diffuse this particular situation is to develop an issue fare structures along each and every route. So the operators, I would say, without a shadow of doubt, without fare contradiction, they are acutely aware of what the fare structures are for the respective routes. And one of the things we will be doing is to ramp up our education, public education, so that the commuters themselves can pinpoint the fare along every single route.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's going to be very important as the days go by, because I know that there has been a lot of confusion between the rate that should be charged and what the actual transport operators have been saying. So look forward for that update, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
All right. All the best. Thank you as always, and keep us updated on Operation Ride Safe. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All the best. That's Ralston Smith from the Transport Authority. He's the managing director. We take the break and come back.
Jamaica's poverty rate has dropped from 16.7% to 8.2%. As the government's economic program begins to pay off, our country is heading towards sustained growth. We are building Jamaica. The time by the office of the Prime Minister is...
It is 7:15.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening, Trump the Terrible. That the current President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, is a historical figure is not in doubt. The question to which there is no immediate answer is, how and for what will he be remembered? 100 years from now, when the world will be a vastly different place, and his defenders and apologists long interred in their graves, how will his story be told? Judging from his autocratic leadership style, Machiavellian political instincts, complex personality, and self-consuming ambition to make America great again, the historical figure of whom Trump is most reminiscent is Ivan Vasilievich IV, a colorful figure who rose to be the first Tsar of Russia from 1547 until his death in 1584. History remembers him as a leader who transformed Russia from a medieval state to an empire, feared by its adversaries and revered by its allies, but at great and lasting political and economic cost to its people. The two men, Ivan and Donald, although separated by centuries, exhibit a common trait: unbridled ambition, grabbing a country by the scruff of the neck and remaking it in keeping with his own vision of what strength, power, and ultimately dominance look like. Strong men of that ilk often rise to being supreme leader on a populist reform agenda by appealing to the nationalistic ambitions and prejudices of ordinary people, the so-called divide and rule political strategy. History recounts the many admirable achievements early in the rule of Ivan Vasilievich IV. Quoting from Wikipedia, in part, he established a new assembly convened by the Tsar. He also revised the legal code and introduced reforms, including elements of local government, as well as establishing the first Russian standing army. Ivan also pursued cultural improvements, such as importing the first printing press to Russia, and began several processes that would continue for centuries. End of quote. But Ivan was corrupted by power. According to Wikipedia, after he had consolidated his power, he rid himself of advisors from the so-called Chosen Council. He established Russia's first political police. He had a malevolent streak and was prone to paranoia, rage, and episodic outbreaks of mental instability that worsened with age. It is said he murdered his eldest son and heir in a fit of anger. For all his achievements, history remembers him as Ivan the Terrible. On Saturday, October 18, 2025, an estimated 7 million people across all 50 states in America staged what was dubbed No King's Protest. Allowing for the fact that much of this was politically motivated and organized, the message to the sitting President Donald Trump is clear. Your goals may be admirable, but the means are questionable. Trump would be well advised to look at the man in the mirror. If he sees Ivan the Terrible staring back at him, there is still time for him to change his approach and tact. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Well, listeners, before we take a short break, just going to tease the lines out for you. You can come and chat with us after this. The number is 618-6730. You can talk to us about the preparations for Melissa or whatever else is on your mind. Come on.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. On Friday, October 24, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. when LASCO, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, proudly announces the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. Meet the Super 6, Jamaica's finest. Constable Monique Bartley, Corporal Stephen Smith, Corporal Rojen Holt, Detective Corporal Chadwick Williams, Constable Chantel Powell, and Detective Corporal Livy Evans. Finalists for the prestigious 2025 LASCO JCF Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Award. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online as we highlight and celebrate the outstanding service, leadership, and community impact of the Super 6. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online Friday, October 24 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by LASCO Chin Foundation and the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Taboo topics.
Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussion.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Voyagings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Voyagings After Dark.
Welcome back, listeners. As I said, taking your calls. The number is 618-6730. We have a young comrade on the line. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing, sir?
I'm here. I hear the head of the transport authority speaking a while ago. But
yes.
It is so easy to prosecute transport operators and not provide the amenities for smooth operation of the transport sector.
By amenities, you mean what? Bus stops, transport parks? What exactly?
Exactly that.
So you feel that they need to, tackle that before they crack down on the operators?
I think there needs to be a balance. It's just jumping up and saying, "Oh, we're going to prosecute." We have always been prosecuted.
But realistically, though, young comrade, don't you think that there still needs to be a level of discipline in the space? I mean, we're not talking about things that require amenities, We're talking about things like tints and loud music in vehicles.
If you heard the gentleman, he didn't say the majority of the persons that were stopped were prosecuted. It was not the majority.
I would hope that it's not the majority. I don't know the numbers to suggest that.
He spoke to the numbers, man. He spoke to the numbers.
Yeah, but but you understand what I'm saying, that even in those circumstances, it's not a lack of amenities that cause that. It's just a lack of discipline.
Yeah, and you will find that in any system that there will be a lack of discipline. That's why there is need for the police and so forth. But at the end of the day, we are the amenities for the persons who are operating decently.
And that's a reasonable question to ask.
The amenities are important, yes, but it doesn't excuse for some of the issues that we see on the road.
I'm not excusing the persons who misbehave.
Right. So what we're saying is, yes, it is important that you have necessary amenities, but at the same time, we have to have some order on the road, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but the reality is that the amenities are not coming. We have been busting for the amenities for years now, but all we get is prosecution. Prosecution, nothing more.
And you think that then leaves it up to the operators themselves to essentially practice fast and loose?
Again?
You think that leaves it to the operators to practice fast and loose because the amenities don't properly rise to the challenge?
Well, if the transport authority does not provide for, then what will be seen or perceived will be we operating illegally basically. Because if we stop anywhere,
I take the point on the stopping anywhere. No. I take the point about the stopping and the tickets that may be issued because you stop. What about the tint? The dark tint that you're not supposed to have on the vehicle?
I'm saying to you that I'm not excusing that the gentleman spoke to some numbers a while ago. And it was the majority of transport operators that were stopped. 400 transport operators were stopped and 100 persons were prosecuted for various offenses, including the sins and so forth.
I mean, what I'm trying to understand, young comrade, is that you're making the link between the amenities and this report about Operation Ride Safe from the Transport Authority, and I think the link is a bit tenuous there. While I appreciate what you're saying regarding the need for amenities and better facilities for the operators, I don't know if that comes into play when we're talking about people just essentially being disorganized and disorderly. They should be able to carry out those things, such as having a badge, such as being properly uniformed, such as making sure the vehicle is properly tinted, making sure the vehicle is up to standard. Those things don't require the transport authority to increase infrastructure across the country.
I do not believe that the majority of transport operators that operate on the Jamaican road today are in breach of all of those thing that you have just brought up.
And that's a fair point. And my question then is, if it's not the majority, why raise the concern about it at this particular juncture in terms of what was raised by the transport authority here?
Because the reality in the transport sector, all we get is prosecution. What have we get otherwise than prosecution?
Why do you think, though, that many Jamaicans don't have any sympathy for transport authorities on the road?
Because one, we are not provided for, and as such you find that there are persons who really and truly is going to be able to load. Because really if you stop in the middle of the road, you will be ticketed. If you stop on the side of the road, if you stop on the sidewalk, you will be ticketed.
And that's the only reason why Jamaicans don't have any sympathy for you?
No, as I said to you, the rules are not in place for us to benefit us in any way. So therefore you find operators who operate in a manner that will be considered unseemly.
Doesn't that sound like a dog chasing its tail? You're suggesting then that the reason that there's no sympathy is because there's no sympathy. Therefore, when the Jamaican people come down to the pipeline and they say, well, we don't like how the operators carry out their business. We don't like how we're treated when we're in the vehicles. We don't like how the vehicles speed along the roadway and other such infractions. Therefore, it is the Transport Authority fault for not properly treating the drivers. Therefore, it's not the driver's fault for not treating the customers properly. Isn't that a bit of a circular logic there?
It will be easier to see the driver on the outside of the lane and the outside of the road overtaking a line of traffic, and not the 10 drivers in the line of traffic moving forward. It's far easier to see that one.
So here's what I maybe suggest to you. You see the bad apples that you have within your fleet, you maybe need to rein them in and see if you can get them in line. That's a suggestion. How about that?
And as you said, since it's not the majority, then there's not much to be fearful about.
You're saying to me that we are responsible now to rein in those guys. And when we rein them in, then we'll be given the amenities. Although I've been issued a road license from the Transport Authority to operate in the KMJR.
I don't think that's what the suggestion is. I think, while I appreciate, and I think we've established that, yes, the amenities and the facilities and the infrastructure can be better, it is divorced somewhat from the issue at hand today, which is about matters to which that can be addressed without those amenities. But as I said, I appreciate where you're coming from in terms of the need for better infrastructure for the operators.
One more thing, I know the minister is listening, the minister of transport is listening. I saw him putting up a stop for his yellow buses, the school buses, new buses. Him and his wife, I think, in Portland. It would be nice if he could put some taxi stops in the KMTR.
Oh, okay, that is something reasonable to be brought up to the minister. I'm sure your unions and the various associations for taxi operators and PPVs can bring up that matter when they next discuss it with the minister.
I've been bringing that.
All right. Thanks, young comrade. Good to have you on.
All right.
Well, as I said, as we await the next call, listeners, you got to bear with us. We're working with some issues here as we try to work through them.
As we do that, though, Siobhan, one of the things that we've seen is that the Ministry of Education is indicating that schools are to move to remote learning as of tomorrow, and this is because of the impending storm, that's Tropical Storm Melissa. That's a release that we saw.
Yes, we saw that release, and it is appropriate and expected. So we hope that those with children take that into heed. Don't bring them to face-to-face tomorrow. Try to make arrangements so they can access their much-needed education through alternate means, whether that is through online platforms or, as the ministry suggested, take-home assignments that they can work on in the meantime. So please make those arrangements, parents and guardians. We have Damien on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, Damien.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, good evening, Siobhan and Sanjay.
Good evening.
One quick question. Do you guys feel comfortable that Margolin have Constitution and Reform underneath his belt?
Come again?
Do you guys feel comfortable?
Yes.
That Margolin have Constitution and Reform underneath his belt?
Underneath his belt. That's what I'm trying to understand. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I mean that I think he would have disqualified it himself, knowing that leading up to the election that he was a British citizen, and the hard stand that he told the Jamaican people that he had to think about it before he could, relieve himself of that royalty
Okay, I think I now understand your question. And I think the answer there is twofold. While I think I've voiced it before, that I think based on that matter regarding him giving up his British citizenship, I think it makes him a poor messenger in terms of the call for that constitutional reform, in terms of separating us from the British monarchy and twinning that with the Caribbean Court of Justice. But at the end of the day, he is still the opposition leader, duly appointed by the caucus in the lower house, as in the opposition caucus, and he still has the voice in terms of what he believes should be put forward.
Yeah, but I one could think, because there's a lot of things that speculation goes on in my mind. And right now I'm thinking that, what if Jamaica tomorrow morning they discover oil? Is it there something that the British, the way, when I look at Barbados and see how easy it was for them to put away the British, and I look at Jamaica's situation that you have to go back and forth, and it's like you have to pull the rope, you have to pull a chain, you have to, the time period, it seems as if the British is holding on Jamaica so tight, and it seems as if, it's my speculation, that Margolin, as a British citizen, was just sitting down there to do the British business. One could draw that conclusion.
I don't know if that's a reasonable conclusion to make. I take your point, in terms of the expectations of dual loyalties. But Mark Golding is a Jamaican, and he has served Jamaica in that capacity for years. But it is poor optics. I agree with you. It's poor optics that down to the wire he had his British citizenship while seeking the highest office in the land.
I understand all of that, but I do believe that Portia Simpson-Miller, Peter Phillips, would have at least take a step forward and move, and then, because there's three arguments right now. The CCJ either will stay with the British for the court, or we can go and build our own court. You understand me? So I really think that he should have given it to someone, and then allow that process to go through, and then we can negotiate and where the CCJ, or if we're going to stick with the British court system, or we're going to do our own.
Well, my preference is for a local court as well, and I understand that's the Prime Minister's preference, but in terms of the feasibility of that, people keep telling me it's not feasible in terms of infrastructure that is required.
I don't think it's not feasible at all, Siobhan, and the expense we're already paying into the CCJ. Why not utilize the CCJ? Why go to our own court here in Jamaica? No, sir.
So there's that argument.
I live in the Caribbean, I live in the Caribbean, and I know how they can be biased towards Jamaicans. So I think that Jamaica should do their own thing.
No, I mean, I hear the argument. No, I hear that argument about bias.
We could set a timeline, We could say, okay, we're 2030, we're aiming for that. You understand me?
No, I have no problem with the quality of the Caribbean Court of Justice's judgment, and in lieu of not having a local court, I would be of the preference to have the CCJ rather than having the Privy Council as distant as it is. But there are those who have their concerns, and to some extent there are legitimate concerns in terms of the Caribbean Court of Justice and its almost closeness in terms of the judges and or political elite in various nations.
However, it might be a slim mandate, a majority, but he got a mandate. And Mark Golding should respect that.
No argument there. But Mark Golding has the potential, as his position gives him, and as the opposition's position gives them in the Senate, to block any attempt to move away from the Privy Council. They have that ability. As much as they want to use it, I don't agree. I think we should just move on this matter of separating us from the British monarchy. I understand the importance of justice and seeking it, but if we cannot at the very minimum agree on that matter. As Mr. Golding and the Prime Minister have suggested, let's move on the one thing we do agree on. That we don't want to say, God save the King or the Queen when we go to Parliament or to the courts. Can we agree on that? I think we agree on that.
Talk is wouldn't make any sense at this point now, as him as opposition leader, because he already blew every chance he just stated out there. And another thing is that I think he should have some respect to the Prime Minister wife, and allow we could definitely see that there's something is going on between the Prime Minister family and the Margolin thing. It is so thick that we can't touch it now. There's something going on. There's some malice going on. You understand the event that he should be turning up, he don't turn up. There's something going on right there, and I think it's best if they move him from opposition and get someone who we can work with.
Well, that is ultimately the People's National Party's decision to make as to whether they want Mark Golding to continue on as opposition leader. And the majority caucus has suggested, based on them sending him to the GG as their representative, that they agree with him. So we can see how things go forward. But thank you for the call, David.
I'm praying for you guys and that weather system that's threatening you guys.
Well, I mean, we are down here at Digicel on Ocean Boulevard. I'm sure we're going to be quite fine. You should worry about yourself and your family and other Jamaicans out there. Remember to batten down the hatches, take care of your people, and just be safe. This is definitely time to just be safe.
I agree. You're showing off on your building, though. I appreciate it.
All right, David. Thank you for the call.
All the best.
On this matter of the Caribbean Court of Justice, I hear the argument for why they would, as I said, I support going to the Caribbean Court of Justice rather than the Privy Council. I want justice to be as close to the Jamaican people as possible, which is why my ultimate belief is it should be a local final appellate court. And I want to see the actual cost in terms of a report. I understand one was done as to what would it cost the Jamaican people to move to that model and how feasible it is and what kind of timeline we could potentially put forward for that to be done. I hear the arguments back and forth between the CCJ and the Privy Council, and I feel like just having a local court would just put both of those arguments to bed.
Yeah, but remember also, Siobhan, that the CCJ is a moving court. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because the headquarters is based in another country within the Caribbean, which is Trinidad, it doesn't mean that the CCJ can't move and have sittings in Jamaica.
No disagreement there, Nasaja. As I said, it's just at the end of the day, to me, the ultimate solution to the problem is to have a local court. I feel the average Jamaican shouldn't pay more than $500 based on where they're coming from to access justice, or coming from further across the island.
Establishing and maintaining a local Jamaican final court,
it costs money.
It's going to cost money. You require new facilities, permanent judges. You're looking at staff. You're looking at administrative system. The CCJ, on the other hand, is already operational, financially independent, funded through a regional trust fund. What more can you ask for?
Well, a lot of Jamaicans still disagree with that, but put it to the people. If they want to go to the CCJ or not, put it to the people through a referendum.
I don't have a problem with that. That I don't have a problem with. Yeah, putting it to the people.
But we have Cleveland on the line. Good evening.
Hi, man, how are you doing?
How are you doing, Cleveland?
Not bad, Sanjay.
Yes, all is well.
Man. Mr. Golding.
Yes.
You remember when Mr. Golding win the election in 2007?
As in Bruce Golding?
Yes.
Oh, that yes.
Mr. Simpson did up until this day congratulate him.
As in, I can't recall.
I can't say.
I know that on the night she did not concede, but I can't recall she expressing congratulations. Yeah.
And I thought it would be the worst nightmare. The JLP will have from them. And it's the same thing Mr. Golding doing now.
Well, he did extend congratulations on the same night to Mr.
Yes.
Holness, to Prime Minister Holness.
I don't know what happened, why I'm just doing it, but to what is going on with now, it don't worth it.
Why you say that?
No, well, you can. He should have a better understanding of how the house run. And it doesn't seem to bring his new members up to date. When it's question time, different from statement time.
Cleveland, I have to kind of challenge that. I don't think that is the issue. The problem is that the rules are the rules in terms of the standing orders, and they've always been that way. But what has happened over the years is that there's been a very significant disregard for the standing orders on many matters. And now it has come to head because the Speaker is insisting that the Parliament operates within the parameters of those standing orders, and the parliamentarians are just having a difficulty adjusting. They want to go back to the fast and loose system where they essentially can say and do whatever they want as the Parliament proceedings go. And when you fall in comfortably into a trap of doing things a certain way, and somebody finally cracks the whip and saying, no, that's not how it should be done, it becomes difficult to adjust.
No, but yes, you have some so-called sensible people in this country. I hear them up to today, at least, because I don't listen to Nationwide one and I listen to Jar, so let me just call them name. And I hear people coming on and describing the Speaker of the House as they have a saying to say this lad, something about this lad, but it's as if they're underrating Mrs. Holness and say she not come from nowhere. And the person who running the program has never tried to say to them, no, that argument we don't use it here. You see? Then just wash over it and move on.
Well, you see, I don't know the context. I don't know what was said, so I can't speak to that.
No, man, then call it the call-in program.
But it would be unfortunate, if certain comments are made of anyone, and the host or whoever, don't rein in the callers. But I don't know. I didn't hear it, so I can't really comment.
You see? But
Cleveland?
Yeah. Go ahead, Cleveland. If that's the way they're going to continue doing what they're doing, trust me. To make them Miss Holness must make them walk out every day.
That's not tenable. I don't think that ultimately that could be how we conduct the business of the country's parliament. Some compromise or understanding has to, at the end of the day, come into purpose here, because it can't be a situation, because see, I understand where the opposition is suggesting that they need some leeway in terms of developing the question and asking it, but I also understand, because the standing orders are clear, you cannot turn a question into either a debate or a statement. It is supposed to be a question. Only the opposition person of that portfolio is allowed to ask a question, to put a statement following the question, a 5-minute statement, and beyond that it should just be a question. It should be, can the minister XYZ? It shouldn't be, well, I am so happy to be here as member of this constituency on behalf of the people, and I see where this is. No, it should be, this is my question, can you answer it? But I can see where they could get some leeway to frame the question in such a way that, well, my constituents are having this issue, how is it going to be addressed? Cleveland, you still there? Oh, looks like we lost Cleveland. So, I mean, I think there's a compromise that can be had here, is if the people from both sides can sit down and have that compromise. Because from what I understand, talking to both members of the opposition and the government, there seems to be a fundamental breakdown in terms of the communication and just a general level of trust between both sides. They seem to be in their camps and just don't want to reach out to the other side.
Yeah, but the standing orders are very clear, Siobhan, and the opposition, like the government, they should understand the parameters that they're governed by within the parliament. If you want to now go and make changes to the standing order, then that's a different conversation, and maybe that's where they ought to take the conversation.
No, but I've told you before, Sanjay, when you operate on convention for a long time and just fail to understand that convention does not actually accord to the actual rules, and when someone comes along and points out the rules to you, you are going to have a problem adjusting to it, and you are going to buck shuffle and complain and say, but that's not how I've been doing things. That's not how it was being done. Why are you all of a sudden suggesting this is how it's to be done? But it's there. It's written there. It's in the standing orders. It's called Section 16D of the standing orders. A statement, it should not accord a question. It should not lead to a debate. It's a simple matter of you ask a question of the portfolio minister. That is the end of it.
Yep. Very clear.
Do we have someone on the line? Okay, so we wait for that other caller. I see Kingsley asking us something about the statement regarding the schools tomorrow. Just to point it out again, the Ministry of Education is suggesting that classes, in terms of face-to-face classes, will be suspended until further notice in light of the passage of a tropical storm Melissa, and they are urging schools to move to a online or alternative modality in terms of getting those lessons out to the students. So just to inform those with children going to school, you will not be sending them to the actual physical facilities tomorrow. Reach out to the school in terms of how the process of education will go on for the next few days and how you will allow for your child or so to be properly kept in the loop as to the school's engagement. So that is the word, Kingsley Graham. So just keep your children at home, prepare for the passage of the storm, do what you need to do to get your physical environment ready. If you're concerned that your physical environment is not going to be up to snuff when matters come, reach out to the authorities in terms of where your closest shelter is so that you can be prepared to move if the need arises.
And that's very important, Siobhan. So listeners, those of you who know you live in low-lying areas, you know you're prone to flooding, ensure you know where your closest shelter will be, and get prepared, ensure you know when to evacuate. And if the authorities come around to your area, indicate that it's time for you to evacuate, please, just go. It's for your own safety.
I mean, I hope, based on what we've heard from the various powers that be, that they are ready. They say they've learned their lessons from Hurricane Beryl last year, and the level of confidence that's being put forward by the various arms of the government as well as the state's utilities suggests that they're in a state where the unfortunacies of 2024 will not be repeated if we do face something very strong coming from Melissa over the next few days. But still, at the end of the day, it is up to every Jamaican to secure themselves and prepare for what is coming. Do the best at what you can do in terms of ensuring that you as a Jamaican have your location secured and your family secured. Look out for one another and prepare. That is all I can say at this time. On the matter of the drain cleaning and other such preparations, the minister's given us assurances that all that can be done will be done in terms of getting us ready. JPS has said the same. The National Water Commission has said the same. ODPEM says their systems are ready. So all will be done to ensure that the country is properly secured as we move to this tropical storm. But you know, I still just say knock on wood. We hope that we don't face anything too extraordinary from that. I don't think any Jamaican wants to see a tropical storm or hurricane impact us, but we still have to make those preparations.
Yeah, it's very important to be prepared, but it's also, we're praying that it doesn't hit. But of course, everyone, we hear how the government is preparing, we hear the utilities, the different utility providers, they are preparing. I hope also, as a household, you are also preparing should the storm hit.
But, seeing the YouTube chats here, everybody seems to be so concerned about how Mrs. Holness is being treated by the opposition. And I understand the concern. I expect there to be some level of accountability in the Parliament in terms of holding even the Speaker of the House to the rules that stand, but I think it needs to be done in a certain way and through a proper manner. I see the concerns raised by the opposition, but I think the Speaker, at least to that extent, is on firm footing when it comes to the standing orders and how things should be done. I don't see where she has moved away from the standing orders. I see some suggestions that she gives more leeway to the government members than she does the opposition. I don't know how true that is. I've heard her crack the whip regardless. I've heard her crack the whip when it comes to the Prime Minister himself in terms of his conduct in the House and when he goes over in terms of his times to provide his statement and updates. So I don't know if there's firm footing in terms of their suggestions that there's a level of partiality. But I do understand that the opposition wants to do its job in terms of holding the government to account, and they need to be given the leeway to do that.
Yeah, but there's a proper way to go about doing that, and if the opposition has concerns, they through its leader of opposition business, they can seek to have conversation with the leader of government business and seek to have audience with the Speaker. But look, this thing of walking out of the Parliament, it's outdated. Yeah, we have to find a better way of dealing with the issues, seek audience with the various individuals, and try to resolve the issues that exist.
Well, listeners, we are going to... sorry, listeners. Sorry about that little distraction there. I was given some instructions, but I don't see how those instructions are fruition now. But it seems we are out of time as it is. Thank you for joining us. It has been Nationwide at 5. Thanks to our super producer Dana Davey. Thanks to our technical operator Andrew the Bugs Anderson, as well as all my compatriots and friends in the news and production department, led by the very capable Ricardo Brooks and Cara Powell. Thanks to those in YouTube for joining us this evening. Again, it has been a privilege and an honor. And as I said, prepare. The tropical storm is upon us. Get your things in order. Secure your family and your friends. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis, wishing for you a wonderful evening.
Money Mania loan promotion this Christmas. Borrow big and win bigger. Get loans of $1.5 million or $2 million at